that they really do need the support of other parties to enable them to push through a budget. So she's going to have to be really clever about the way she does things, and she's going to have to work with not only people within her own party to get that support, but she's going to have to work with Plaid or the Conservatives or somebody to be able to say, look, we need to push this forward and push these different agenda forward for the people of Wales and to benefit. But it's going to be difficult because, she's got to show that she's credible. And you're right, this time is just a huge crisis for the Labour Party in Wales. I mean, you see the family picture and you've got Vaughan Gethin and Jeremy Miles looking incredibly awkward in it. It's not all peace just because she's taken over. You've got these factions in the background that she's hoping to hold together.
OK, let's move on. Eluned Morgan has been selected as Wales's First Minister. Here she is.
This is an historic day as a woman becomes the First Minister of Wales for the first time in our history. It's a reality. And I look forward to the day when a woman becoming First Minister is no longer extraordinary, but a normal part of our Welsh political life.
Baroness Morgan confirmed as First Minister in a vote of Senate members this morning, replacing Vaughan Gethin, who quit as Welsh First Minister just 4 months into the job after members of the Cabinet, his own Cabinet, resigned, calling for him to go. We're joined now by the Welsh journalist Liz Perkins. Evening to you, Liz.
Hi there, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and looking forward to hearing your take on this. I know you have been following this story very closely. In her acceptance speech today, Morgan said, and I quote, "The grey suits are out." She hopes that her achievement, as we heard in that quote, as Wales's first female First Minister, lots of firsts there, will inspire other women. What else did we learn from and about her today?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, wasn't it, when she said about the grey suits being out and how she promises to wear more colourful outfits. I mean, it's not all going to be about her shoes and what she's wearing. She's very much focused on the job and trying to inspire young women to go out there and realise that actually, a job like hers isn't out of bounds for them, and that's something that they will be able to aspire to in the future. She's very much focused on that and going out there and meeting the public as well. She says she's going to be a listening First Minister, and she really needs to be, because I think when you look at the Westminster election, the indications are there's a lot of support for reform in Wales. They came second in a lot of seats. And Plaid Cymru also grew in support as well. I mean, you've got Rhys Iorwerth, who's very popular in his role. He's trying to demand an election. And you also have the Conservatives being slightly critical of her because obviously she's the former House Minister and the figures don't look very good there. What I will say about her is she's very much focused on the business of government. And tomorrow she will unveil the next, I should say, health minister. So we'll see who she decides to give that poison chalice to.
I just wondered how much of a crisis you think the Labour Party in Wales is in. It's often said by academics, whether they look at business or politics actually, that women often take over at moments of crisis, the so-called glass cliff theory. And I guess, is it possible that the Welsh Labour Party could go the way of the Scottish Labour Party, suddenly, lose its grip on the country?
This is the interesting thing because right now, I mean, obviously they've only got like 30 seats, so it's half of the Senate, and it means that they really do need the support of other parties to enable them to push through a budget. So she's going to have to be really clever about the way she does things, and she's going to have to work with not only people within her own party to get that support, but she's going to have to work with Plaid or the Conservatives or somebody to be able to say, look, we need to push this forward and push these different agenda forward for the people of Wales and to benefit. But it's going to be difficult because, she's got to show that she's credible. And you're right, this time is just a huge crisis for the Labour Party in Wales. I mean, you see the family picture and you've got Vaughan Gethin and Jeremy Miles looking incredibly awkward in it. It's not all peace just because she's taken over. You've got these factions in the background that she's hoping to hold together. And I wouldn't fancy her job. I mean, would you?
I mean, it's a really good point, actually, about that kind of awkwardness in all of this, because she was, of course, unopposed in the contest to be the Welsh Labour's leader. How tainted is she by the controversy which forced Vaughan Gethin to resign after such a short time?
I think with the public, that's where the issue lies, because the fact that she wants to go out and meet people and show that who she is indicates that, yes, Labour is in a bit of a trouble with them, because she's got this mammoth task of trying to win as many seats as possible in the 2026 Senate elections. I know it seems a while off, but actually, when you think about it, you've got to lay the groundwork now. And you're seeing other parties doing really well. I mean, Reform did amazingly well in a town like Llanelli, which has always been Labour. And you're just thinking, well, and they also did very well in the valleys where it's incredibly deprived, and that the Welsh government haven't really rejuvenated Merthyr Tydfil. There's nothing really there since all of the industry disappeared. There isn't. And you're just thinking, well, what can she promise to make things better and to encourage people to vote Labour, especially when the steel industry is under threat in Port Talbot, when you've got the cost of living crisis, and it's affected so many people. So how do you encourage people to think, look, we're going to do a decent job? I don't know how she's going to turn it around. There's going to be more Senate members after the next election as well. And you've also got proportional representation in the mix too. So, what impact is that going to have in terms of the way in which people vote and how many seats they actually get? It's going to be interesting to see. So, but yeah, it's going to be a tough job.
And you say Reform has done quite well in Wales, but we haven't had any of the disorder in Wales that we've had in England. Why do you think that is?
Well, you say this now, but actually, I mean, I'm based in Llanelli, and I will say that the far right do have an influence in this town. Essentially, we had a hotel which was touted as a place which would have been home to asylum seekers, but that did not go ahead. But even so, there is a presence within Wales. And what I noticed today is that there were a lot of police around. So whether or not they have been told anything or anything could potentially happen in the future, I have no idea. It's very difficult to say. And it is interesting that Wales hasn't got involved so far, but it doesn't mean to say that, things won't kick off here, because like I say, there is this presence, and you just don't know what's going to happen next.
Really interesting to consider, actually, as has been mentioned already on Times Radio, that we haven't seen similar action in Scotland and Wales that we've seen across England and Northern Ireland. But how are people feeling where you are, Liz Perkins? You mentioned you're in Llanelli. What's the feeling there? Community tensions, community relations. What's the mood?
I think the thing is, if that hotel had been converted into an asylum seeker hotel, then that would have been, that would have had a major impact, essentially. And I do think that there would have been an even bigger role for the far right. You've also got to take into account that they have got people based in Swansea as well, and there are people across Wales. So, there is an issue within Wales, and there are tensions within Wales.